Welcome to part 3 of this video series of Team Strike's most ambitious card counting trip to date. We'd won 40k in the Bahamas. Now it was time to change region, add more players to the team, and immediately run into some problems. Today, we're going to Vegas. Let's go, go, go! Team Strike first went to Vegas back in 2020, and it was the most insane time. In just 5 days, we won $92,000, but then we lost all that money, luckily ending the trip around a break even. To this day, it is the most insane swing I've had in blackjack. The feeling of nearly winning 100 grand and giving it all back to the casino is not a feeling I want to experience again. What happened in Vegas last time has no bearings on what will happen this time. We're better card counters now than we were then. We've got a bigger, stronger team. We have upped our game. The problem is, Vegas has the sharpest surveillance in the world. The last time I was in Vegas, I wasn't really there to play, but I still wandered into a high limit room. And before I'd even gotten my money out, 2 men in suits walked into the high limit room, came right up to me and said,
"Steven, just so you know, you can't play blackjack here."
And yes, I'm Stephen Bridges from YouTube, but the efficiency of catching me when I was looking like this, it's just next level. Given that Vegas is card counting on hard mode, why play there? Well, for all its challenges, Vegas still remains a great place to count. A lot of casinos, all within a comfortable drive of each other. And a decent amount of those casinos have valuable blackjack games, if you know where to look. I'd already tested out disguises and had great success with them, but I had no idea if they'd work here. This would be the real test. Due to limited parking options at our Airbnb, I'd opted to not get a hire car and instead be shuttled around by my teammates.
This is more fun than the counting.
Joe was dropping me off at a casino called...
Oh, fuck, I can't remember.
It was actually called Rampart Casino. Different team members were opting for different approaches. Ultimate strategy was to hit them hard and play until a back off, whereas most of the team was going for more of a hit and run. Play for a short amount of time in the casino and then bounce before they caught you. The idea behind this is that casinos wouldn't share our photo if they didn't actually catch us. The sessions would be very short, 20 to 30 minutes, but that could lead to more time at the tables overall. This is the kind of strategy that would only work in casino-packed places like Vegas.
I didn't make the decision to do this, but when I went into Rampart, I immediately adopted the sort of pissed off gambler that doesn't enjoy gambling, was just doing it, and I think it actually worked really well for cover. I don't think anyone was suspicious of me. I also played with my bets quite a bit. Who knows whether or not that helped, or whether or not I just got lucky. Either way, I played for less than half an hour. I won $987, I believe. Joe had less success. He immediately had a phone call made from the pit boss when he bought in or something like that. So yeah, he basically got heat immediately, which isn't great. So far, it's going pretty well.
Next up, Joe dropped me off at Red Rock. As soon as I sat down to play, I was immediately asked for my ID.
I don't have one with me.
One of our guidelines for Vegas was to not show ID. Showing ID in casinos is not a legal requirement in most situations. If I were to show my ID and they look up my name, that could lead to many Vegas casinos being notified of mine and my team's presence. All of our disguises would be no match for surveillance agents that knew we were in town and were looking for us.
No, it's my first time.
No ID?
I'm like 30 years old.
I left the table to consider what my options were.
Have a good one.
There's 2 possible reasons why they'd ask for my ID. Either they simply wanted to check my age. If that were the case, I'd just hand over my ID, they'd probably just take a look, verify I was over 21, and hand it back to me. No problem. Or they might suspect that I'm a card counter, either from recognizing me but not being sure, or maybe just because I look the type. If that happened, they could look me up, confirm I'm a counter, and then damn, cover blown and disguise burnt. Given I couldn't be sure, I decided to change pits and see what would happen. If they ask for my ID again, I could be pretty sure it's just part of their standard procedure. In which case, probably fine to hand it over. Sure enough, I was asked for my ID again.
You need to see it?
I figured it was very unlikely I'd been recognized this quickly, so I decided to risk it and hand it over. Now it was time to find out if this gamble had paid off, or if I'd royally screwed myself for the trip.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks.
I was fine.
I got you, babe.
Just an age check, feeling of relief, and I started to play. Here's a couple of memorable hands from the session. Look at them. Memorable hands. Fucking hell, that's awful. The rules for blackjack vary, especially on double deck. Sometimes you're not allowed to add another hand if you've started with one, and often if you play two hands, you've got to at least bet double the table minimum. So when sitting down at the table, I often try and find out the rules before I play.
If I do one hand, can I add a hand, or is it like however many hands you do, you've got to commit to it?
If you want to play 25
All right, I'll do that.
You've got to strike a balance with this. Being too specific with the questions can be a tell that you know what you're doing, or at least you play a lot of blackjack. The first 4 rounds were uneventful. I often resorted to just playing one hand to minimize the wasted money on the negative counts. I then got a true one and pushed out 2 bets of $100. 2 20s, excellent. But the dealer also had a 20, a break-even hand, but now 6 picture cards wasted, dropping us back into a negative count. When I did manage to get the big bets out, the dealer had an ace. The count was high enough to take insurance, a side bet on whether or not the dealer has blackjack, and it paid off. She had blackjack, so I broke even on the hand. Later on, I got another high count, but instead of the count dropping after a round or two, it stayed high for the rest of the shoe. I bet one hand of $225 just to change up my pattern and got Delta 19. The dealer had a 14, so had to take a card and bust the hand. The count rose, so for the next round I was betting close to 2 hands of $400. And that seemed to hit the casino's comfort limit as the dealer announced, "This is a phrase used to notify the pit boss that someone is betting big." From this moment, I was being closely watched. Given the attention I was getting, I knew soon I'd want to leave. So instead of getting paid in green chips, I asked for black.
Black, thanks.
Less chips to carry, easier to grab if I thought I was about to get backed off and wanted to make a quick exit. Another 2 rounds of $400. I doubled my soft 14 and I got a blackjack on the other hand. Nice. The dealer drew to 19, but that was no match for the 6 of clubs. I had 20.
Oh, very good.
The last round was a painful $800 loss when the dealer drew to 21. I played for around half an hour, and as the new shoe began, I saw someone on the phone, so I decided to make a quick exit.
I know it's very early days, but so far, we haven't had a losing session as a team, which feels great.
After waving goodbye to Red Rock, I met Joe and found out he'd already had a situation where a casino had been pretty sketchy.
He was watching me for quite a while, so I was doing like unbalanced betting, and when I could to try and throw him off, he threw me the first card and he just went over and went, "Oh, stop. He said, "You can't play blackjack anymore." I said, "Well, hold on, the first card's been dealt." And he said, "Right, you can leave on your own or I can call security." And I said, you can't do that because the first card has been dealt." And he said, "Well, call gaming then."
I'm not actually 100% sure where this holds up legally. I assume because they'd started dealing, they'd have to honour the hand. But Joe hadn't seen his hand yet, so perhaps face down it works differently. Either way, if not illegal, pretty sketchy. It reminds me of the situation we had on Project Liberty, where Aces Please was dealt a blackjack and the casino refused to pay. In the end, we decided it wasn't a fight worth having this time. We wanted to spend more time playing blackjack and less time arguing with casinos. Well, that was the plan. Just to interrupt myself for a moment, if you'd like to see if card counting is right for you, I've put together a free guide called Why You Probably Shouldn't Learn to Count Cards. It's linked in the description. Joe dropped me off at Santa Fe Station, and I was presented with the exact same problem I'd had before. I sat down and started playing. The pit boss then came over and asked me if I had a player's card.
Got a player's card, maybe?
Nah, I'm good, thanks.
You mind if you check your ID real quick?
In this moment, I felt like I had to make a quick judgment call. Any time hesitating over this could make him suspicious. I should have said I don't have it, but I was just so sure it was an age check that I handed it over. When I did, exactly what I was hoping wouldn't happen, happened. After looking at my ID, he walked away. Moments later, he came back and said,
That's gonna be your last hand on blackjack, bro. You can't play blackjack. Sorry about that. No more blackjack. You play whatever you want, no blackjack.
That one sucked.
When I told Ultimate what had happened, he was not best pleased.
Why did you give him the ID?
I thought it was an age check thing.
Assumptions.
Or I could have said no, and he'd have said leave, and I'd have left the hot double deck I was playing.
Please don't. This could shorten our time drastically.
So I shouldn't have done it at Red Rock when it was an age check.
I think right now, better to leave. It's hard, I know, but if they recognise you, we all may get fired.
Well, would have been good if we'd established this kind of situation. I'm sorry for showing ID. I shall not show it under any circumstances from now, and hopefully it hasn't led to a flyer.
Let's hope for the best. We are doing good.
To be fair, it was a monumental screw-up on my part. All it would take now would be for this casino to share around that I was in town, my disguise would be burnt, and they'd know I looked different. And they'd know it was likely my team were in town, which would put everyone else at risk. And it was only day one of Vegas. What the hell was I thinking? Irish AP swung by and we decided to go to Arizona Charlie's. Speaking of which, Irish had been having a great time trying out a new accent.
I was just backed off from Red Rock, and then the guy next to me whispered to me, "They think you're counting." I was absolutely baffled.
Here, we'd try something different. We'd both play in the same casino, playing until one of us gets backed off. When one of us gets backed off, we'd both leave. Meaning, if one of us got backed off and the other left, we wouldn't be connected. I believe that in Vegas, usually the surveillance staff won't run down an unrated suspected card counter if they're leaving the casino. But, I don't know, different casinos do things differently. The atmosphere in the casino was a little tense. The smaller the casino, the more I feel like I'm being watched. But when Irish sat down to play, I felt some of the focus shift over to him. As we've established, it's very easy to see how the session is going when you can see Irish. Irish decided to draw heat over on the 6 deck, partly from being his usual extrovert self, and partly because he was losing. I just saw rebuy after rebuy after rebuy, unlocking his characteristic anger and frustration, which is partly an act and partly real. Of course, we don't know where surveillance are looking, but it's clear that the pit bosses at least were focused on Irish. I mean, just look at him. All of this allowed me to just cruise by with the face-up double deck. With double deck, the count fluctuates a lot. Those high counts come regularly, which means lots of big bets and lots of money changing hands. Luckily for me, the money changing hands was from the casino's hands to mine, which was pretty needed given how things were going for Irish. Later, I'd find out he was down over $9,000 at one point. After about an hour of play, I heard one of the pit bosses on the phone say, "The Australian guy," and they could only be talking about one person.
They think you're counting. I was absolutely baffled.
The pit boss talking about him on the phone is a major concern. I scrambled to my phone and quickly messaged Irish. "Pizza, you're done. Go now. Quick." I heard him on the phone saying, "The Australian guy." I waited for a few moments, but no reply. And strangely enough, 10 minutes went by and no back off. I thought we were dangerously close to overstaying our welcome, so I decided to leave.
Thanks. Good luck.
Irish saw me get up and followed me to the cash desk. This is where things took a turn. I couldn't quite make it out, but something was obviously going wrong. Before I knew it, he was surrounded by security guards. I wanted to stay to make sure he was okay, but there was nothing I could do without giving myself away.
Long story short, we went to cash out, and Irish is getting such a resistance about not having or not wanting to produce ID. The whole thing has just got super tense super quickly.
Stood outside the casino, not hearing from Irish, not knowing what was going on, made me start to worry. I didn't know how much things would escalate. I know that Irish isn't someone that backs down when he believes he's right, which is something I really admire about him, but I just didn't know how it was going to go. "30 minutes went by before I found out what happened.
You're a naughty boy.
I got my money though. Perseverance prevailed, and the manager even offered me a comp for the inconvenience. Unbelievable.
What happened?
In essence, Irish had got trouble at the cage because they thought he bought in for more than $10,000. 10K is the magic number that does make it a legal requirement to hand over your ID. Kind of. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the basics. So he had an argument about that.
But then the security guard and the cashier were telling two completely different stories.
Which of course involved them saying all sorts of stupid stuff.
I recorded everything at the cage on video.
Are you an expert on gaming laws in the United States?
I'm not an expert, but I know.
Do you know the rules?
I'm not an expert on colours, but I know that black is different than white. I'm not an expert in space, but I know that Neil Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon.
Oh, it's such a good line. I'm not an expert in space. I know Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon. That's incredible. Oh, you're a legend. And most importantly, you got your money.
And a food comp. It's time for the team graph. I played 4 sessions, 3 of them winners, taking my total trip winnings for solo play up to $11,935. The team overall had good variance, only a couple of losing sessions with the rest winners. Shout out to Irish, who was down over 9k in that last session, but managed to win a lot of it back, taking his loss down to only 2k, taking our total winnings up to a new trip high of $55,352. Some card counters don't like being referred to as gamblers. The connotation of gambling implies a lack of skill or advantage. But I think technically the best definition of card counting is that it's gambling with an edge. You're still gambling, but you have an advantage over the house. I know that when I place a bet when the count is high, I'm likely to win that bet, but by no means is it guaranteed. It's playing over thousands of hours that make it incredibly likely that I'll be up overall. But some bets you can place are guaranteed to win. And these bets aren't like card counting. You don't need to spend loads of time studying, practicing, and training. It's easy, you can just do it. That's what NinjaBet allows you to do. NinjaBet can help you make an additional income at home through matched betting. This is a mathematical technique that allows you to convert bonuses provided by sportsbooks into real money. It's a pretty genius strategy where you bet on all outcomes of a sports event with multiple sportsbooks, and no matter what happens, you profit. Fictional, slightly oversimplified example, let's say, I'm a fun sports betting website.com gives you a $100 free bet when you sign up. So you place that bet on football team A. You then go and place another $100 bet on football team B on a different sportsbook. If you win on, I'm a fun gambling sports website thing.com, then you've won $200 over there and you've lost $100 on the other site. In other words, you've made $100 by converting that bonus into money you can withdraw. And the same thing basically happens in reverse. $200 over there, you withdraw it. That's a very simple example. It's often more complex than that, but that's why you use NinjaBet. They have software that takes out all that complexity. Their software provides everything you need. Video guides and tutorials, tools that compare the odds between sportsbooks, tools that make the calculations for you, live chat and email support, and tools for profit tracking. And this is the great thing, you can register an account for free and get access to the first tutorials. So you can go through the process, see how it works, and earn around $100 on average. All of that without having paid anything. And then if you like it and you want to stick around, you can join for as little as $19.99 per month, which is such a beautiful deal. It's like, hey, give me $20 and I'll help you make hundreds of dollars. I really like doing a sponsor like this because any opportunity to take money from gambling institutions is just a thing which fills me with joy. I actually used a similar but way worse service to NinjaBet way back when I was in uni, and I made like 600 quid in my first month, which was just so needed as a student. To be clear, this isn't going to be your new job. You're not going to make millions doing this, and you do have to live in one of the 19 states where online sports betting is legal, or these other countries. But you can, from home, pretty easily make an extra few $100s in a month, maybe up to around about $1K. Use my link in the description to register for a free account and earn your first $100-ish.